To introduce Mr. Takaya Imamura, 30-year veteran of Nintendo, F-Zero, Star Fox, Legend of Zelda, etc., etc. Now teaching at university game development related courses, while also using his time outside of that to draw manga and obviously work on Omega 6, the Triangle Stars, the new game that is coming out soon.
I actually had a chance to play it today. I just heard about this interview like at 5 a.m. today, so I wasn't sure. This is the very last second, but I've been playing Imamura-san's games ever since he started releasing games. So I'm a huge F-Zero fan. I love Star Fox. I've been paying attention to Omega 6 and the stuff going around it. So I look forward to chatting with you about all this. But we'll focus on Omega 6 first, and then if we have some time, we can nerd out about F-Zero.
Thank you very much.
So the first thing I noticed playing the game today is your art style is very noticeable. The minute you start playing it and the first character you see, or the first dialogue box even, it evokes your past work. It has some of the style of maybe early Star Fox or Star Fox 64 looking dialogue, and this game definitely revolves around dialogue. Can you talk about like some of the inspiration for the design that you brought to the game for Omega 6?
The reason the game looks that kind of 16-bit style goes back to the manga itself. In that the manga I drew in a kind of like a retro futuristic style, so 60s, 70s style, not necessarily modern style, and thus when it came to making the game, wanted to keep in theme, thematically in line with the manga itself. Hence, going back to this 16-bit Super Nintendo style graphics.
So this manga existed before the game, and I saw you announced that you're going to bring the manga, you're localizing it for the United States. It has an upcoming release. Is that right?
Right.
How long ago did this idea come to you? Like how long have you been thinking about this, and at what point did you say, oh, this could be a game?
Yeah, you're right. So the manga came first, followed by the game. And while I was drawing it, I had no real intention of creating a game from it. And it only came about after the French version was released.
I had a chance to play it a little bit today. I noticed there's it seems like there's a little sense of humor in the game. I went to the planet Impostor. Can players expect more satire kind of humor in the game?
Yeah, I mean the manga itself is quite serious. It's quite straight shooting, but the game is definitely more comical. I wanted to make it so that more people could enjoy it. So yes, you can look forward to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I noticed that in a lot of the conversations, or if you press someone in a conversation, like the language that's like trying to tell you to move on, it has a lot of humor that I've noticed in it so far.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice you are doing a limited run games release. I think several versions of the game, and it harkens back to the SNES days of the box and the box art and the what you would get in a game manual or a poster. Having come from that era of games that had F-Zero for SNES, for instance, had a very solid instruction manual with like actual art inside of it. Do you feel that the industry's kind of lost something without these physical offerings in the last 10 years or so?
Yeah, I think it's a sign of the times. As time goes on, the CDs, videos, media has become less, and physical media has become less and less. In releasing the physical versions, having the game and the manga itself with this retro futuristic style to the art and the story. So in keeping with that, having a manual in there, having these other elements in there for the physical release was definitely part of the plan. Yes,
you're right. We've moved digital a lot. EA is some like 85% of their business is digital. Nintendo, it's more than 50% of sales now is digital. It's not like they forgot about art. The art now lives in the games, but it feels like we've really lost something in that there was that 90s period that Imamura-san was famous during, or it really came up during, there's so much iconic art that was not even part of the game that like we don't even get to see anymore. It feels like when you buy an actual physical cartridge now and you open it, it's just literally the cartridge. It does feel like we've lost something there, and it feels like it's hurt artists in a way because there's less of this promotional art than we used to see.
Personally, I kind of leave it up to the flow of time. As it were.
わかりました。
I'm not. I think you can see I'm not a collector, personally speaking. So I'm not really. I don't really have this. It's not a feeling of loss. It's just that's the way things are now. And but in terms of the fans, in terms of the players for Omega 6, I know what they're expecting with this. It's a 16-bit style adventure. This retro futuristic, so and maybe they're my fans from when I was making Super Nintendo games, etc. So in order to please them, we put together a manual, we put together other items that go in and fit thematically with this and hark back to that generation, as you were saying.
That makes a lot of sense. It is just kind of the time, but we've seen it with limited run games. They've had a lot of successful releases, so it's like there is a collector's market out there. And even old games, you see, like I saw a packaged version of Super Mario Bros. NES, like one of the test runs of it. It's being valued at $1 million now. So like there is this insane collector's market out there that I find fascinating. In 2025, the people are obsessing over 8-bit cartridges.
No, 100万ドル
It's just interesting.
Yes. $1 million is a lot of money.
The way that they're valued, I find fascinating. I know that it's not necessarily a cross-media launch in Japan with the manga already having been released, but here in America, it's kind of happening at the same time with the manga and the game coming out, right? Do you think other larger companies would benefit from attaching something like a manga to their game? And is this something you'd like to see from other developers?
Well, I think regards to this spinning out of game IP into other media, I was at Nintendo 30 odd years, and the Famicom, the NES has been around like 40 or so. So they've been over that period of time. They're making huge amounts of games and IPs. The IPs that those games were created from is now, with all the generations of people that have played these games, it's a global thing. I think. So the timing for them to move into films is, they finally started doing it, and I think part of that is because Miyamoto-san, he's probably going to retire within the next 10 years, I guess, given his age. And one of the things I felt while I was still there was, it's kind of this preparation for the next generation of people coming into Nintendo, the next age of Nintendo. And so, of course, they're still going to be making games, but they've got all this IP, and so it's games, films, theme parks, goods, merchandise, that kind of stuff. It's expanding this world that they've already created for all these IP.
I think recently Nintendo Music is a good example of that. There's so much awesome music attached to all that IP, and I can just speak personally. Like, I was listening to the Animal Crossing music, and it made me want to play Animal Crossing again. So I think there's this. Nintendo's always been about at Halo, keeping you in the ecosystem. And I feel like the video content, art content, music, all these things can keep people interested in it. And we even coined it at Shacknews. We call it the Mario movie effect. Mario games sold better after the release of the Mario movie. Mario Kart, Super Mario Wonder, like all these games sold very well because of that movie. So I think that, Nintendo being a company that cares about money, they're seeing the evidence. Oh, we should do more of this. It would be interesting to see. I know you had mentioned previously a Star Fox movie. I was wondering if Nintendo Music isn't just the end point. Like perhaps there's a Nintendo Video app where some of that shorter content could live. Like I know they've done Pikmin shorts in the past, stuff like that. I think that might be an interesting thing for them to do too. I think what's going on with Omega 6's cross-media launch here in America, I think is interesting, especially in 2025. You don't see this very often.
I appreciate the kind words, but to be honest, Omega 6 was nothing more than really just a passion project for me. It was just something I really wanted to do. So in that respect, it's completely different from, F-Zero, Star Fox that I made at Nintendo. This is just a personal thing for me.
Speaking of personal art projects, I just want to talk to him about Twitter. He's very active on Twitter. He does these good morning posts.
Thank you.
When did the good morning posts start? Why did you start doing it? And are these are all your drawings, right? So what inspired the good morning posts? I follow you on Twitter, obviously.
Is it just me revisiting my roots. So I all these new followers on Twitter and Blue Sky as well, and I just wanted to find a way that I could tell them about myself through my art. So I'm kind of revisiting my roots. Star Wars you've seen in there, F-Zero, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Real quick before we go, I consider him like the emperor of F-Zero Twitter. F-Zero Twitter is this very tight-knit community. We all love F-Zero. We want a new F-Zero game. We got F-Zero 99. But as an F-Zero fan, I just had a couple of really quick questions. Are you playing F-Zero 99 still? And what class license are you if you are playing it?
Now you said F-Zero to me, I can hear the title screen music from the Super Nintendo in my...
And 99 celebrates that theme. I love that game. My favorite game of all time is F-Zero X, or it was, and then F-Zero 99 came out, and it's kind of supplanted it. But I have one question for F-Zero X for him too, because I know he was a supervisor on that. But yeah, I'm a ridiculous F-Zero fan. Been following his work forever.
Yeah. It's
and Star Fox, oddly enough. Yeah. There's an overlap in those two fan bases too.
Yeah, I haven't played it for a while.
Is it updating?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Most recent update, they added the Satellaview tracks, which were I
noticed that. Yeah.
That was very cool. Because those were only in Japan.
Out of the left field, that one.
That was like the last thing any of us expected in the community, and we were like, wow, I'm shocked by the amount of fan service they're doing in that game. I mean, while that loads, I could ask him another question.
Yeah.
So as I was doing some research on Imamura-san's credits, and I saw a few on F-Zero X. Obviously supervisor, but also course designer. As someone who played a lot of F-Zero X, I was curious, what courses did he design?
アートディレクターじゃなかったかな。コースデザインもやってますけど、はい。Forget.
He forgets.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Not the Mute City.
Not Mute City. Yeah, Mute City's basic. Okay.
でもなんか派手なジャンプとかあるシーンは結構。
Oh, Red Canyon probably, or Port Town.
Yeah, I remember making something with lots of jumps and ups and downs on it.
Here's another F-Zero question for him. What's his favorite personal F-Zero game? Like, what's his favorite? GX, X, F-Zero, or GP Legend, Climax? It's a hard question, isn't it?
X ですかね? X.
Good answer. Like I said, that was one of my... If you asked me 2 years ago what my favorite game was, it was one of them. X. I would hold X very highly. And obviously, X had a 64DD expansion.
It did, yes.
Only in Japan. Does Imamura-san think it's possible for that to somehow make it to Switch Online?
わからない、それは。ないんじゃない?
Maybe not.
Yeah. It seems like it would be hard. I know that Nintendo 64 emulation by itself is hard, so God knows what 64DD emulation would require. No, I thought it was worth asking. And so F-Zero X is his favorite. I really appreciate your time. All of you, thank you for making this time. Thank you for the last second appointment too. We appreciate it. Star Fox is a series that has struggled to come back in a big way. And I ask this question with the utmost amount of respect. Is Star Fox 64 too good? Is it too good of a game? Like, is it perfect? Can we not make a game in the Star Fox universe better than 64? Because I give it a 10 out of 10. Like, when people ask me, what's a perfect video game? I say Star Fox 64. Has that almost hampered the game's franchise? Because it was so good? Like, the first Star Fox 2 at the time, you look at Super Famicom Star Fox, cutting edge, did things that no other game was doing at the time. And I felt that way about 64. Has it created a very hard hurdle to clear? Or what do you think about the future of that franchise? And is it Star Fox 64's fault?
Exactly.
I'm right. It's just so good. I'll be honest with you. I go back and I play it. I just go play it. I go play it at least once a year. I just play that game
downstairs.
Yeah. And I have it for 64 still, but I have it on Virtual Console for Wii U, and I have it on Switch Online or whatever. But yeah, I try to play it at least once a year. I really think it's one of those games where it's perfect.
Oh, thank you very much.
No, absolutely. And yeah, just as a fan, just thank you for all the work you've done over the years. We really appreciate it at Shacknews. Our community is very into F-Zero at Shacknews. We're into racing games in general. We're into all games. We're into Nintendo games, but I personally care a lot about the F-Zero franchise. I think your art's outstanding, and it felt so familiar when I opened up Omega 6, and I even showed a screenshot to our staff, and I was like, what does this remind you of? And everyone was like, Star Fox. Or like, it was like instant. So yeah, I think that the DNA of all that you've done is showing up in Omega 6. I look forward to the launch. And once again, just thank you for the time and good luck on the launch.
ありがとうございます。